Welcome to today's Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to dive into this one with you. We are going to be looking at ancient scriptures, but through a lens you might not have used in a while. We're going to explore the idea that these time-honored texts aren't just literal, historical accounts. Instead, they contain a hidden, timeless master key for human enlightenment. It's a blueprint, really, passed down through esoteric traditions for centuries. So think about this. What if those ancient scriptures were actually a map of the stars and your own body? It's a question that kind of challenges everything we've traditionally been taught about how to read these stories, right? Like, what if we've been looking at a literal history when we should have been decoding a massive esoteric cipher? This timeless wisdom suggests that these sacred narratives are actually a highly sophisticated map, one that charts both the celestial movements happening way up above us and the biological miracles happening right inside your own body. To even begin to approach this giant puzzle, we have to look to that ancient mystical maxim, as above, so below. This right here is our ultimate decoder ring. It tells us that to understand the massive, infinite macrocosm of the universe, we have to look at the tiny, intricate microcosm of the human being. The universe and the soul are literally reflections of one another. Okay, let's dive into this. Part 1. The Astrological Code. Enter the tetramorph. Now, you'll see this symbolic arrangement constantly in ancient art, architecture, and scriptural tradition. It's a grouping of 4 specific figures: the man, the lion, the ox, and the eagle. The ancient traditions purposely rooted their teachings in the physical cycles of the seasons, and specifically the 4 fixed signs of the astrological zodiac. Notice how beautifully this alignment maps out. Matthew aligns with Aquarius, the man. Mark aligns with Leo, the lion. John aligns with Scorpio, the eagle. And the absolutely crucial point for our focus today is Luke. The book of Luke is specifically linked to the ox, which is Taurus. So right out of the gate, this establishes an undeniable astronomical foundation at the opening of the text. And this builds even further when we look at the characters of Zacharias and Elizabeth in that book of Luke. The ancient teachings actually instruct us to look at the phonetics and the hidden meanings of their names. So Zacharias translates to "he who remembers," which correlates perfectly with Aries. Elizabeth translates to the God of Seven, which directly represents the 7 sisters of the Pleiades star cluster. So you're taking this entire narrative and placing it directly into the night sky, right next to Taurus. Moving on to part 2, the cosmos within you. Remember Zacharias? He who remembers? Well, in this story, he spends an enormous amount of time praying alone in the temple. But esoteric tradition tells us this temple isn't a building made of stone. The temple is your head. Specifically, memory is stored in the hippocampus, a structure in your brain that is literally shaped like and named after a ram's horn. Zacharias is Aries, the ram, operating inside the physical temple of your own mind. It's mind-blowing when you think about it. And these connections just continue perfectly down the body, mapping on to what tradition calls the zodiac man. For example, the character of Mary corresponds to Virgo, the virgin. Anatomically, Virgo rules the abdomen, the stomach, and the womb. It symbolizes a state of internal purity and the time of spiritual harvest. Then all the way down at the bottom you have Pisces, the fishes, representing the feet, providing the spiritual foundation that guides us toward the way of peace. So these supposed cosmic events are actually biological realities happening inside you right now. 33. This number pops up repeatedly across ancient scriptures and esoteric traditions. But why? Well, it's pretty simple actually. There are exactly 33 bones in the human spinal column. Yes, your spine is the true cosmic tree of life. Ancient wisdom teaches that a divine energy or a spark travels up this spinal ladder. It travels all the way up through those 33 vertebrae, passing through the top bones, which are named the atlas and the axis, literally referencing a map of the world, and goes straight into the brain to spark spiritual enlightenment. All right, shifting gears a bit to part 3, sacred geometry and math. We often hear about the concept of the Trinity, but the timeless esoteric tradition decodes this not as literal physical beings, but as the geometric and mathematical unfolding of time itself. The Father, the Creator, represents the metaphysical future. The Holy Ghost, the Transformer, represents the metaphysical past, and these 2 concepts converge perfectly in the Son, which is the present moment, the eternal now, where all transformation actually occurs. And this geometric perfection extends directly into our spiritual states. Just take the hexagon, for example. You have the massive winter hexagon in the night sky. You have the story of the Samaritan woman at a well, which historically was often hexagonal. You even have the six-sided perfection of a honeycomb in nature. Esoterically speaking, the number 6 represents a phase of intense purification and wandering. You have to endure the 6 to reach the 7th point, the absolute center, the point of ultimate spiritual rest and wholeness. This geometry brings us to a really profound distinction made in ancient texts between the words God and Lord. The teachings instruct us to recognize God as the infinite external universe, the creator above. But the Lord, that is the divine spark, the sun resting directly inside the center of every single human being. The entire goal of this esoteric teaching is to show you how to unite the infinite above with the divine spark within. Which brings us to part 4, the alchemical marriage. So the crucial question is how you actually achieve this. Well, the texts outline specific, internal steps. First, you purify the mind and body, which is symbolized by the wandering in the hexagon and the purity of Virgo. Second, you merge the divided opposites within your own psyche, heaven and earth, spirit and matter, male and female. This is exactly what the union of Zacharias and Elizabeth truly represents. Finally, when those opposites are completely merged, you give birth to the internal sun, which is the ultimate attainment of spiritual enlightenment. Geometrically, this merging of opposites is called the Vesica Piscis. It's the sacred geometric intersection of two circles. You see this everywhere in classic architecture, and it's actually the exact origin of the traditional Jesus fish symbol. Esoterically, the Vesica Piscis represents the metaphysical womb. Ancient wisdom states that a person must re-enter this spiritual womb, this merging of heaven and earth, in order to be truly reborn. Let's bring this all together in part 5, the map to rebirth. Even the most central sacred names in ancient texts are actually Trinitarian codes when you break them down esoterically. Take the word Israel, for instance. Some traditions break this down phonetically into 3 ancient components: Isis, representing the spirit; Ra, representing the sun or the mind; and El, representing God or physical matter. The word itself is literally an instruction manual designed to teach us how to merge spirit, mind, and matter into a complete, unbroken wholeness. Which leaves us with this final provocative thought. The ancient blueprint we've been talking about, it isn't hiding in some distant land or locked away in an inaccessible vault. The map to your own enlightenment is quite literally written in the stars above you, the divine mathematics surrounding you, and the very bones supporting you. The key is already in your hands. The only question left is, will you choose to read it? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep questioning, keep seeking, and I'll see you next time.